All right, let's begin. And it's silent right here, by the way. Okay.
The Cost of Concordia, ship of dreams. It's been 8 years.
Don't like this.
I can still smell the buffets from their 5 restaurants.
I don't like
the
this.
casino and 3-story theater had hardly
Is the audio
been
okay?
used. The gym, the day spa, the sheets
I feel like the
in
face
her
is cursed.
1,500 luxurious cabins hadn't even been slept in. Cost of Concordia cost $570 million to build. And
This video's a classic.
you could really tell.
This is the Concordia commercial. You want your popcorn anymore? I'll take it.
I remember it like it was just a few years ago. We had left Civitavecchia, a port in Rome, and we were making our way to Savona. It was day 2 of our
Was this
7-day
guy on the
journey.
ship?
But that ship,
Or is he
she
just
was cursed.
cursed like me? Or is
Entrepreneur,
it just like another
a traditional
story?
bottle
No,
of
okay,
champagne
that's what I
bounced
figured.
Right off the side instead of smashing. A bad omen.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing could go wrong on.
I think I have. It's Friday the 13th as well. Then why? He's just a storyteller. Okay, that's what I was assuming. So, cause I don't know anything about this guy. Yeah, I heard about the bottle thing. You're supposed to smash it on the side of the ship. And apparently that one didn't smash it. It's also Friday the 13th. I would be like, nope. Can I get off the boat, please? I'm sorry, we've already left port. Okay, can I just dive off? Would that hurt me?
Friday the 13th
Good
of
grief.
January 2012,
Oh.
On the 100th year anniversary of the Titanic, on a ship
That's even
also
worse.
only safety rated for 2-compartment flooding, especially not when you have a 5-star max level captain like Francisco Scatino, a man
don't
who
wink at me.
mysteriously rose from head of security to the position of captain within just a couple of years.
Huh?
he knows exactly.
You can go from security officer to a captain? Shoot, I'm missing out. Would y'all trust me to be a captain of a ship?
what to do in case of an emergency.
For example, when he caused this emergency in 2008, when he
No.
crashed into a port in Sicily. And in
Why not?
2010, in Venemon, Germany, when he was steering a different ship and came into port too fast and caused another collision. I've got a good feeling about this.
Oh gosh,
So
this is so
let's see.
terrifying.
It's a beautiful evening. People are having fun on the slides, drinks at the bar.
Yeah, I've never been on a
Antonio
cruise.
Magnotta is playing piano at the restaurant.
It looks fancy though.
Martin the Magician is setting up for his show. And
Hi,
the ship
Martin.
is setting up for a little detour. It's called
Detour?
a sail by salute. Basically, you get real close to the shore and honk the horn. The locals hate it,
Yeah.
but the customers love it.
Yes,
And it's
there as
tradition.
peasants, you wish you were
Scatino,
on
the
this
captain, comes into the
Concordia.
dining hall with a lady, Dominica Samorton. Remember this face because you'll be seeing a lot
Remember
of
it,
it
chat.
later. Scatino eats his
Remembering.
dinner and socializes for a little while. Then
Tad ladder?
he,
Okay.
Dominica and the maitre d' finish up and excuse themselves. They're heading to the bridge. It's time
that?
for that sail by salute. This time, they're going to get closer than ever.
Why would you want
Just
to do that?
1,500 feet from the island of Giglio. And
Yes,
how are
let's
they
get
going
closer.
to determine this distance? Well, of course, the captain is going to eyeball it. Apparently, it's not an uncommon thing to do.
I mean, what else are you gonna do? You used to be a security guard, so I mean, might as well just eyeball it, I suppose. Got nothing. I don't know how else to
turns
do
to the
it.
fella steering,
Look with
his
your
husband,
eyeballs.
Jacob Russ-Liebin.
Yo, Jacob got a cool
First
theme
interesting
song.
tidbit. Costa Crochet has hired Jacob from Indonesia at a rock-bottom price, and he's a bit of a newbie to the job. In fact, his profession hitherto, a painter and a cleaner. It's his first time steering a massive ship, and he's
What? They couldn't find someone who was, I don't know, driven a boat before? I vacuumed my carpet. I can drive a ship now. There's no, what? Nothing can go wrong.
very excited. At
What
least,
is this
we think he is.
crew?
It's hard to tell because he doesn't speak English or Italian very well at all. Off to a good start. The second in command orders the helmsman to 290. Now, don't be confused by these numbers, they're just the degrees on a compass. At the same time, the captain whips out his cell phone and calls former captain Mario Palombo, who lives on the island. They
Hi,
chat
Mario.
about the safe distance to Giglio's shores. It's all very casual. Anyway, Mario says that the safe distance is between 0.3 and 0.4 miles from shore. The captain is going all in. This is not his first sail-by saloon.
I don't like that face. So we're going to go to the dangerous. I wouldn't even want to go to the risky. No, I want to enjoy my cruise. Enjoy my endless buffet, please. I don't care about party. I'm antisocial, so I don't even care. Let me eat my food in peace without breaking or crashing somewhere, which I'm assuming is probably what's going to happen.
So he's confident in what he's doing. We're going closer than we've ever been before. The captain's eyeballing it again. New heading of 300, he tells the helmsman. Downstairs, Martin is about to cut his assistant in half.
No,
And
please
of course,
no.
That means that there's already a lady inside this box.
Oh, no,
She's waiting
no.
for the cue, and then she'll poke her legs out. The captain is giving more orders. Pulling gently to
I'm
310.
not liking this.
Increase speed to 16 knots.
You're increasing
Going
speed
this
towards
fast
land?
is going to be a fatal error. But before we talk about that, let's talk about
Look, I have a boater's license, okay? I can actually drive a boat, right? Well, I haven't actually driven a boat. I just got it to drive jet skis, right? You're supposed to slow down when you get to usually closer to like the land, especially where other boats are because of the wake. You don't want to have a huge wake, knocking around the whatever boats just sitting there, on the dock. Why are you getting closer at a higher rate of speed in a giant cruise ship going towards the land? Yeah, I got a boater's license. I can drive a boat. Sure can, baby. Sure can.
another big problem. Language barrier. Because at
Italian.
this point, the captain says 325, but the helmsman relays 315. So the first officer intervenes, and he goes, no, 335, which is also wrong. And then the captain clarifies, no, 325. The helmsman confirms 325. Their poor communication has them moving at a much wider angle than they think they are. However, the captain should and would know this, except for the next problem. Complacency about procedure.
I'm sorry. Just
And would know this,
They,
except for the next problem.
I like how he has like the arm around her, but also has the arm down here. I know they just like cut off. Looks like they cut off his arm right here. They used this guy's arm and put over here.
Complacency about procedure. The standard procedure of a ship this large is for the third officer to give exact positional coordinates every time the captain gives a new directional.
But what do you have to do previously before you can have that job? Do you have to be no, the other guy was like a janitor. He did janitorial duties. What? The other guy was a security guard. Do you have to be you think of teacher, but I think teacher's too much. Plumber, that's perfect. Yes. You have to be a plumber to have this job.
Order. But they're not doing that.
Busboy? Yeah, busboy, that's
3:30,
even
he
better.
says. The helmsman relays 3:30. The ship reaches 16 knots. The captain then turns to the second officer and instructs him to go to the left wing. That's these things here, and they basically exist so you can get a better view over the whole vessel. A few seconds pass, and then the mood starts to turn. Scatino notices white foam of waves breaking against the rocks directly in front of him in the distance. The Cost of Concordia, right now, is almost 700 meters closer to the rocks than it should be. Without deviation, there is going to be a direct
Rocks
collision.
are actually underwater, which is worse
Scatino
because you can't say
immediately
that.
commands the ship to start turning away. 335. Not enough. The captain shouts, 340. The captain yells, 350. Now, remember how I said that accelerating to 16 knots was a fatal error? Well, that's because it's made this ship incapable of such a drastic turn. What they've got is understeer. Here's an example.
The front end is not working. You're turning, and you're just going straight. You want to go over here, but you're going to end up over here.
So despite the
Over
order
there,
of
over there, over there, over
350, right now the bow is still only pointing at 327.
Deja vu.
Not nearly enough to miss the rock. And oh no, it's about to get worse. That language
Have you ever driven a boat? It is so hard to steer sometimes. Like if you're, going up to port and stuff. I call it parking my boat. It's kind of difficult to line up unless you're just really good at it, Now, cruise ship. Yeah, no, thank
barrier
you.
again. In these
That's
critical
gonna be
moments,
really hard
where
to turn.
every second counts, the helmsman wrongly relays 340. The captain snaps back 350 starboard, or we end up on the rocks. The third officer goes
Yeah,
to
it's a
assist the
massive
helmsman.
ship, so it's not going to turn like a jet
Now,
ski
don't get
is.
confused by the orders from here. We're changing over to rudder instructions. The captain yells, starboard 10, starboard 20, and still it's not enough.
Do they know what they're
hard
saying?
to starboard. That means as hard as it'll go. But at this point, even if they clear these rocks, they need to get the rest of the ship to swing around it. So the captain yells, midship, which centers the rudder. The bow is now less than 150 meters from Skull Rock. Port 10. But the helmsman only gets to port 5 before another order is given 2 seconds later. Port 20.
Do it
They
yourself,
might
dude!
just avoid disaster here, maybe. But then, oh no. One more time, the helmsman cocks up at the worst possible moment. The helmsman goes to starboard instead of port, undoing the swing. 8 seconds later, he realizes the error and corrects, but it's too late. He has just turned a probable near miss into a sure hit. All they can do now is hold on as the bow of the ship narrowly passes by the rocks. Hard to port! The second officer yells,
The poor
"We're
people
gonna
in the
hit."
boat. Like, what is happening?
Collision.
Now what's happening for sure? They got hit by the rock. Way to go, security guard and janitor dude. Best boy. Plumber man. What about the magic show going on? How's that going? Not the kitchen, the noodles! No! The food, my buffet's on the floor!
Downtown, Nordtown. It's day
Nordtown.
56 of playing Russian roulette. Seems I never win.
Gonna drink all by yourself?
Where's our guy at?
Somebody has to.
I hear you're a man who's good at
It's an
finding
ad.
folks.
Oh, it is an ad.
I'm
I was like,
many
how
things.
does this... Huh?
Ian can bring NordVP.
Ad! I don't have the sponsor.
Ad over.
Ad over.
The ship hits rocks on the port side.
I was like, what happened? How did we get here?
A 53-meter
Where am
gash
I?
opens up in the hull, and thousands of tons of water begin pouring in.
Imagine that.
A
Like,
loud scraping and bang is heard by all.
hey everyone, glad you could board on the Concordia. We are celebrating the 100 years of the Titanic on Friday the 13th. What better day to do this on? I hope you know how to swim. The waters are very cold, I'm assuming.
passengers.
Probably not. I don't
At
know.
the helm, there's panic. Rumblings in the dining room. Martin awkwardly pauses his act as he's helping his assistant into the box. Meanwhile, the lady inside
Let me
is
out, let
trapped
me
and
out.
terrified. There's confusion across the ship. All of the crew off shift come back on duty.
Damn.
All officers run to the bridge. Technical crews run down to the lower decks to assess damage. On connection with the rocks, they lose propulsion and slow to 8.3 knots. And they are now adrift.
Well, the good thing is they're so close to shore, so evacuation shouldn't be as difficult as it would be, right?
Close the watertight doors at stern. Enormous volumes of water are pouring in. So much so that within 29 seconds of collision, all 6 engines stop working through flooding.
Oh, imagine that.
22 seconds later, a blackout happens.
Oh, that
Lights,
would be...
electrics, water pumps too. Everything.
Can you imagine being like in the interior of the ship and there's no lighting and all the lights go off? No, thank you.
The captain orders the helmsman hard starboard. This is the final position of the rudder before power to that, too, is lost. The Cost of Concordia, now without power, is drifting starboard, plunged into absolute darkness.
Is it going towards the land or is it gonna?
A quick breakdown of the flooding. When the Concordia struck land, it tore open 3 watertight
I will
compartments.
never go on a cruise ship ever.
At first, compartment 5, which filled very rapidly. Then 6 more slowly, 4 shortly
I would interview the captain first. What did you do before this? Were you a security guard? You were? Okay, well, I'm gonna sell my ticket. Bye.
after. Then 7, 8, and 3. Modern ships are built to withstand 2 compartment breaches. These compartments especially, though, are a problem because they contain the engines and the electrics. These main generators give power to the whole ship. From propulsion motors to rudder
make, like,
to hotel
interior
functions, pretty much
secured
everything. When they
rooms.
went out, the ship was
That's
a
not by the
functionless,
wall. The ship.
sinking
I don't know how
cage.
ships are built, though. I have
A few
no
seconds
idea.
later, the emergency batteries for internal lighting and communications
Turn the
kick off.
shapusi open. No.
When the lights come back on, Martin has vanished. He's ditched the stage. And it caused a huge panic in the theatre, as passengers are trying to flee to their cabins and to muster stations.
You just
People
left the
already in their
ladies. He
cabins
turned into a
come out
woman.
and start putting on life vests. Staff rally and try to calm everyone down. Everything is fine. There's no need for vests. Please return to your cabins.
Like the very
The
accurate
emergency generator
waterfall.
starts.
Yes.
All of the watertight doors close except for door 12, which is jammed.
Oh
The
no.
captain
Of course
calls
it
out
is.
The chief engineer as the
Why
ship
wasn't it
begins to list
door
on the port
13?
side. There's water coming in? Yes, there's water. But where? The engine room. But a lot of water? Yes! There's water, you can't go down. Let's go down the other side. In a moment we'll start the pumps, I'll let you know.
No, I'm
In the
George,
theater,
well,
the
get
whole
it
Magic
together.
Box apparatus slides right off the stage and falls into the crowd, further increasing panic.
No,
On
now
the
they
bridge,
know the
an
secret.
announcement is being prepared. They are going to lie to prevent a panic. Let's just say we have a blackout.
Yeah, sure. With the water coming in. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The deputy chief
a
engineer
lightsaber.
enters the engine control room. He confirms to the bridge that at least compartments 5, 6, and 7 are flooded. Announcements are made.
The captain to inform you that due to an electrical fault, which is currently under control, we're currently in a blackout. Our technicians are working to resolve the
Currently
situation
under
and will
control.
inform you of developments as they occur. Thank you for your attention.
Yeah, we just have a blackout, but you're falling on the other side of the ship because we're rocking everywhere. Yeah. Don't lie. That's the worst thing you can do. No.
Coincidentally, at this same time in the restaurant,
Or
they're
everyone
playing
put on your
My
life
Heart
vest
Will Go
and
On,
wait for the
and
next
it's very much
update.
not helping the situation. The
Remain
captain calls
calm.
the Cost of Crisis unit, Roberto Ferrarini. He tells the crisis unit that they've hit a rock, that they're assessing damages,
dumb.
and that they are also in a blackout. The crisis office says to reverse the ship
Yeah,
up
that big
onto
boom.
shore.
It was
Well,
nothing.
how are you going to do that?
Just the power
You
going
don't
out.
have power to the rudder, let alone the engine. Hoist the sails? Anyway, around this time,
Backup
the wind
sails.
direction creates a starboard list, and the ship begins to turn anyway, drifting right back towards the shore, which is a
Makes sense,
very
the
good thing
waves.
because you want the ship to end up as close to shore as possible.
I mean,
A
see if
panicked
it's parallel
passenger
parking.
senses that something is off. This isn't like any electrical problem that she's ever seen. Plus, there was a massive crashing noise,
Oh,
and now
that's
the ship is
creepy.
tilting.
No.
So, she contacts her daughter in Italy. The
Me
daughter
daughter.
then calls the police, and the police call the harbour master. While that goes on, a conversation between Pilon and Ambrosio. The diesel is not starting. The captain asks the engine room, but where have we made contact? Thinking that the incoming water can be reduced. Captain, here everything is lost. The electrical panel, everything.
Yeah.
They're
it
saying
got
at this point
water.
that the ship is going
Full of
down.
water.
The captain calls Roberto Ferrarini again.
Well, everyone, you might be feeling a very sharp drifting on the left side of the boat, but that's just you. And sometimes you just lose your boat legs, and you just kind of you start getting your land legs back early, and you're just not used to the boat all of a sudden. It's normal. It's fine. Oh, you ready? You got flipped into a wall, man. You suck at walking then.
Actually, 2 compartments have been flooded, but don't worry, the ship's stability isn't in danger. Wrong.
Wrong.
Passengers begin going to muster stations on their own initiative. The cruise director
might
says,
notice some
"We have
water."
a lot of people at muster stations that I do not want to fall overboard. Do we make an announcement to tell them to go to the lounges?" Bozio says, "I think that's best."
Or go to
The harbour master from
emergency,
Livorno
like, exit
calls the ship.
the
The captain
boat.
tells them that we just have a blackout. How long has this blackout been
It's just a blackout.
About 20 minutes. Have you asked passengers to put on life vests? It's just a blackout. I gotta go. The harbour master is suspicious. He says to his
Better be.
superiors that he thinks something more is going
Oh,
on.
look, an actual
He calls
captain.
a patrol boat to the area and asks them to look at the ship. Another problem. The fan on the emergency diesel generator isn't working properly. Pilon manually has to turn the thing on and off with a screwdriver so that it
Manually?
doesn't overheat and cause a fire. The captain is on the
What?
phone to the lower decks, asking pointless questions, like, is it still flooded? Yes. Yes,
Yeah,
it
we're
is.
gonna get a
The
bucket?
captain is
Like, what do
essentially
you
in
want us to
denial
do?
of the situation. The harbour master calls again.
Water
Finally,
cough.
he says, the ship is taking on water through an opening on the left side and the ship is listing. He qualifies with, no one dead or injured. The harbour master asks if he needs help.
Wait, what did it say?
Qualifies with, no one
He's lying. That is not something he could know.
dead or injured. The harbour master asks if he needs help. Just a tugboat. When in reality, they need a full rescue. With 3 compartments flooded, the captain finally realizes that things are
I
really
think
bad,
they just have to
and they
look
are
into the
not
water
going to
and
improve.
notice.
The
think
Coast
it
Guard
might be
orders
easily
every
seen at this
available
point.
ship to the scene.
Oh, good.
Meanwhile, up with the passengers, the cruise director's assistant says, everything's under control. Please return to your cabins or hang about in the lounges, no problem.
No.
She said this despite knowing it was wrong and that it further endangered lives. Most passengers
What would you do, guys? What if your boss, the main guy who hired you and can fire you, let's say, is like, hey, tell all the passengers they can go back to their rooms or stay in the lobby and everything is fine. Would you announce that? Or would you say, hey, the captain wants me to tell you this, but really, you might want to be in the lobby. You need your life vest on. Just trust me. He's fired. Yeah, that's true. You know what? He is fired anyway. I hope he never touches another boat in his life. Yeah, come on. Like, what? I would probably say what the captain's saying and then say, so that's what the captain wanted me to tell you, but in actuality, we have a problem. Get your life vest. Everyone remain calm. Wait till the next instructions, and we will guide you and get you all out to safety. That's probably what I would do. I don't know. Just be like, hey, I did my job, but I did better, too.
at this point, though, aren't listening to this
Yeah, be a
nonsense,
whistleblower to
and
save
they're
people's
busy
lives.
figuring out how to abandon ship. Bang, 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 bang. Local television has already picked up the story, and they
Bing, bong,
begin
bong, bong,
broadcasting
bong.
live radio feed.
Oh,
from
yeah,
the
that's
bridge.
tilted.
Captain, the passengers are going on board the boats. Okay, let them go to shore. So then general emergency? Wait, let me talk to Ferrarini.
Oh, so there's an
We risk the
emergency.
emergency generators that do not have cooling. It has cooling problems.
Nah, if I'm that
100
worker-
degrees. The cooling fan has stopped. Pilon calls the bridge and tells the safety officer they need to evacuate. The safety officer
Yeah, that guy doing the manual part of the fan, nah. That guy's too dedicated to his job at that
relays
point.
this to the captain, but after no response, he orders the engine
already
to
too late.
evacuate on his own. The captain says, no, stay. We're leaving. So what do? General emergency?
Overthrow the captain! Should I give the
captain tells
emergency
Ferrarini
signal?
that
Well,
he's
you've been in an
abandoned ship.
emergency.
Abandoned ship.
For a
Another
while.
announcement is made.
Lifesaver!
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. The situation is under control.
No, it's not!
But at this time, proceed to your muster station. They're located outside on deck 4.
That actual
The
footage is
Livorno Coast Guard
terrifying.
calls again. The captain declares distress. The Coast Guard officially calls for rescue operations. They contact Pietro Mille, the helicopter base commander, who then calls in every available pilot as he rushes down to the helicopter base. Pilon shuts down the emergency generator for the final time. The first rescue vessel arrives. By this point, the lifeboats are already going.
Good.
Luckily, the ship is very close to shore. Oh, perhaps too close to shore. The ship forcefully runs aground, creating an uneven center of gravity, and it begins heavily listing starboard. The captain issues a general emergency on board. The announcement to abandon ship is finally called and alarms ring out, and with that comes panic. And now that they're listing, with many of the lifeboats too awkwardly positioned to enter the water, there aren't enough readily available, and they have to start going back and forth to the shore,
Oh,
picking people up and dropping
You know, that sounds like the Titanic where they didn't have enough lifeboats. Mm.
them off. The patrol boats report to the Livorno harbour master that the
Wonderful
ship has run aground and is listing
reenactment.
heavily. So the harbour master asks the
Kinda.
captain about it, and the captain says, no, the ship is still floating.
It's
In
floating,
fact, we're
kind of.
trying to maneuver it onto the shore. They know he's lying. Hold on, I'm reversing it. Beep, 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 beep. The captain then
Beep,
says to
beep, beep,
bottom out
beep,
the
beep.
starboard anchor. So they drop out the anchors, but let out too much chain, effectively rendering
You had one job! Anchorman! What did you do before, huh? Were you pest control? Probably pest control. Now he's an anchor guy. You had one job, but you did it wrong, Anchorman. Do you even need it? You got the rocks being your anchor at this point. You're kind of in place already. I don't think you need an anchor anymore. I put too much rope or too much chain down. Why? I don't know, because the land is right there. It's right there.
The deputy mayor of Giglio, Mario Pellegrini, and tobacco shop owner Giovanni Rossi arrive at the harbor. They watch the scene unfold. As the first of the lifeboats arrive on shore, the deputy mayor takes the initiative and races to board one of the lifeboats, returning to the ship.
Our
And
hero.
starts trying to find someone in charge. He gives up and starts helping passengers.
Look at that guy.
Scatino tells everyone to leave and take radios, but not before changing out of his uniform and into a nice suit. Priorities. Dimitri Kostidis
No, it's not the priorities. What he's doing is he's trying to blend in with the crowd and not look like the captain who screwed everyone up.
and Sylvia Coronica leave with him.
What do
The
you mean,
maitre d'
captain?
and
I'm
some
just
more
a
can both
guy.
get out of there. By this point, approximately 300 people are still on the ship. Millet reaches the helicopter base. The first helicopter, a
thing's
slow-moving
sideways.
Augusta Bell, was already rising from the tarmac for the hour-long flight south. Bozio is the last crew member left on the bridge, coordinating evacuation. He then leaves to help passengers board lifeboats. The bridge is now abandoned. And then, the ship's
Don't need
black
it
box
anyway.
stops working. Apparently there were technical problems with it. That means, from here, things are going to get a little foggy in detail. A
It's
while
already kinda
later,
just
rescue
foggy.
helicopters arrive, but they're struggling to find the ship because they're expecting it to still be well above water. Passengers are scaling down the port side by ladder as lifeboats return to pick them up.
Scary.
Oh my goodness. It was no joking, amor.
Oh, look, there she is.
Isn't that the
Oh, there she is. There she is. The lady. It's her.
You're not allowed to make a film
I'm
movie?
allowed.
Who say you are?
A second helicopter,
You're in public. I am allowed.
a
Don't
faster
try to
model,
defend your
sets
captain.
off. The
Big
ship
captain.
stops healing and comes to a final resting place. Now the Coast Guard calls the captain because he's just learned that the captain has abandoned ship. The captain claims,
Captain, you freaking suck. You're not even a real captain anyway. Number one. Number two. Captain's supposed to go down with the freaking ship. You're the captain. You're basically the ship. The ship is your body. You go down with it. He needs to stay with it at this point.
no, actually, I slipped and I fell into one of the lifeboats.
I fell
I'm
into
crushed.
ravioli.
But now that I'm on board, I may as well head back to shore. DeFalco tells the captain to get the fuck back on board.
No, what they need to do is kick the guy off the little boat that he's on and make him swim back to the big boat.
And the captain kind of acts confused and
His
then
lovely suit.
effectively refuses. So the captain makes it to shore. From here, we only have mainstream news reports to rely on, so it's not going to be super accurate. But they say that Giglio's police chief then finds 110 survivors on the rocks at Point Gabbianara. And among them
Ugh.
is the captain. It's not known
Oh.
whether the captain
The one in his
helped
fancy
anyone
suit.
while he was there. And in fact, the police chief claimed that he just sat on the rocks and watched other people do the rescuing.
Coward.
A while later, a rescue boat picks up the captain and takes him to the harbour. He speaks to the police. He then finds the ship's onboard chaplain, Father Rafael Molina, and cries to him for about 15 minutes.
Captain, I'm
Then he
stupid.
goes to the harbour master's office to receive probably the biggest dressing down of his entire life. Port authorities ask
Yeah, how many millions and millions and millions of dollars did you lose, number one? Number two, you affected everyone's vacation and money and everything on board. So these people also now have trauma. Thank you. And now they probably won't ever go on a cruise ship again. Yeah, it's only 560 million at least. At least. You're gonna have to pay for everyone's psychiatrist and everything else for this. That's traumatizing. Imagine the boat being sideways and you have to climb down the side to get to a boat. No, thank you.
taxi driver to take the captain back to his hotel. The captain takes the 30
You think
second
back to the hotel.
cab ride to the
Your hotel's now
Bahamas
the
hotel.
prison.
According to the cabbie, he was
That was
beaten like a
right.
dog. He was cold and afraid. He only asked me where he could buy a pair of fresh socks. But then he perked right up again and gave an interview to a news crew. He told them that he was the last
He perked up because he got him some fresh socks.
To leave.
The captain is usually the last to abandon ship.
What?
What happened, Captain?
Siamo stati gli ultimi.
We were the last to leave the ship.
No, you were not. Liar! You're
All
blinking!
day Saturday, rescuers search for people on the ship. On Sunday morning, a South Korean couple is found in their cabin, safe but shivering. They had slept through the crash and woke up unable to exit their cabin.
Oh!
The last survivor,
That's
Manrico Giampandroni, was found with a broken leg. He was the cabin's service director.
No one helped
In
him?
the end, 32 people died. The final body wasn't discovered until nearly 3 years later. A crew member, Russell Rebello, and it's believed that he died a hero helping passengers off the ship. The Cost of Concordia was the largest cruise ship disaster since the Titanic. And then there's the ship.
That's so sad. And this guy also, on top of all the millions of dollars that you lost in the trauma you inflicted, you had people die. Can I have some fresh socks, please? No, you can have some old crusty socks in jail. No, for the rest of your life. What? And of course, it's always the good people, right? It's always the good people trying to assist others to safety, sacrificing their own life in the process. Yet we have this coward of a captain who's not even a captain to begin with. Oh, this makes me mad. I'm mad.
This is what happens to a 110,000-ton cruise liner when it's left half rolled over in the ocean.
A good deed goes unpunished. Well, unfortunately, that guy's deed, he got punished with losing his life. And I hate that. I really, really hate that. Shameless! Hi, Raiders! Hi, welcome in! We got to a very sad part of the story. Hi! Welcome in. We're watching the Concordia. I have never seen this before, and now I'm very angry at the guy who used to be... What did he used to be? It wasn't the janitor. What did he do before this? The second guy was the janitor. Security guy. Yeah, security guard that become a captain randomly. Yep. When you accept the job of a captain, it is your job, responsibility, and obligation to ensure the safety of the passengers and crew when evacuating the ship, and the captain is always the last one off board once everyone is safe. Exactly. Stupid coward. Freaking coward. Oh. The freak staples at Costco. Wouldn't be surprised. Oh, that's so sad. Oh.
But this isn't the end. It's just the halfway point. What most people know is that the Cost of Concordia had crashed, many dead, and that the captain abandoned ship like a coward.
Yep.
But there's a whole veritable spaghetti of details to untangle. Let's dive in.
What are you doing?
There they are. The deets.
You made the spaghetti. You took the time to make the spaghetti. Make it really pretty.
But there's a whole veritable
Like, that looks delicious. And yet just put your hands in it and just ruin the spaghetti. I don't even like spaghetti, but that looked good.
There they are. The deets.
The deets and the sketty. Not the Getty. Oh, ship got mad skills. Never mind. Loot? Of course there's looting. Of course.
Loot box time. The Costa Concordia was more than just a floating resort. There's a mall, a casino, cha-ching, cha-ching. This iron chest was full of safes and cash registers and expensive fittings. And there were plenty of gamers prepared to sneak by authorities and try their luck in the hot zone. Within days, police divers reported that valuable items, once seen lying around the ship, were now
The
missing.
wind sucks!
High-end liquor, expensive furniture, dining sets, cash from the casino, cash registers, jewelry and display cabinets, safes, Japanese woodblock prints by famous 18th century artists, as well as the iconic bell, which hung from the bridge of the ship. It was never found. Who steals a big fuck-off bell? Even the server admins were getting involved.
Cool, I guess.
Four divers who were part of the company contracted to refloat the Concordia were spotted on CCTV, sneaking out to the ship. A patrol boat was dispatched, and the men were caught inside the fancy suites with rucksacks full of stolen
The water
goods.
police!
The four men are charged with stealing and thieving and pinching. Later on, stolen as well as legitimate items found their way to Amazon and eBay. Chips from the casino, postcards, and cabin access cards became highly sought after souvenirs.
It even has a watermark.
Some Australian guy even made a listing.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy how like such a huge disaster, any like little remnant of it left is worth like thousands and thousands of dollars. Like, why do we there's not much of it left, but also it's a huge tragedy involved in a huge tragedy. So why are we spending thousands of dollars on something that is basically negative stuff? Like, as humans, why y'all like this? I'm an elf. Just Bell is the idea that shipment has to stay with the wreck. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I wonder why I guess people steal it because it's cool. Maybe. I don't know. I don't think I'd take the time to go steal a giant bell. How do they even get that up? Like, that's the thing. But like, why are we greedy in a weird way? I don't know. Why you guys greedy in a weird way? Look, I'm part elf, or I'm mostly elf and part dragon. I like the shiny things, but legally. I like the legal shiny
for
things.
the ship itself, advertising it as buyer to collect. And although there were plenty of bidders, eBay pulled the
That
plug.
copy up. Mostly. The relationship.
I know you want to see Scatino go to jail, and we'll get to that.
Point and
Let's
laugh.
talk about someone else.
Someone else.
Dominika Samorton.
A lady.
There was speculation that she was on the bridge that evening because
so
she
young.
was the captain's mistress.
Ooh, how old is she? Are they gonna say? Fryer, thank you for the 5 months. Thank you. She looks so young in that picture. Okay, that's an older picture. It looks like then, because it looks like she's with friends.
She was on the bridge that evening because
still
she
looks young
was
here.
the captain's mistress.
I feel like she's a lot younger than him.
Intense media speculation reports that her presence distracted the captain.
They both denied
young,
their
Rich.
love for years and maintained that they were just friends. Although she did later admit to the media that she found him handsome. And how could you
No.
not?
You so fucking precious when you smile.
But she says there was no romantic link between them.
Some people would like to believe, they want to know I have something with him. It's more interesting. It's like, you know.
I see that smile. I see it like something more interesting. How are you just friends? With the captain. Randomly. Okay, sure.
Spicy in the story.
Miss Samorton also loved the spotlight, however,
Yeah, exactly.
and took several interviews. But as the pressure mounted upon her, she began making ominous threats to Scatino,
Red.
saying he must confess.
Francesco, Scatino, I give you just 1 week to tell the truth about what happened immediately after you did the announcement to abandon ship. 1 week! Oh, I just paused on the best face, by the way.
And that you
Oh, they
have
did
but
it.
1
Wasn't
week
even me.
to come clean. But things from here get weird.
Spicy.
Samorton is a bit of a
Spicy.
wild card. In a subsequent interview, she claimed a helicopter came to the ship well before the other rescue craft to take away a package.
A loot box.
Huh? And what was that package? Drugs, apparently.
Drugs. That was back in the good day when Overwatch had the loot boxes. The loot crates.
So rumors began that the ship was running narcotics for the mafia. And not without cause. A number of cruise ships, even recently, have been caught trafficking drugs. As an aside, Scatino was tested for drugs immediately after the crash. He tested negative for drugs in his system, but trace amounts of cocaine were found in a hair sample.
And your
Makes it
hair?
smoother and less dry.
Nonetheless, the Concordia was searched and no drugs were reportedly ever found. How did we
Did you search too late?
get here? Oh, right, a helicopter. Sir Morton commented on it again the next day and said, actually, that helicopter was just for the captain as a means of evacuation from the ship.
No.
Okay, wait. So she expected to get some sort of first-class rescue while everyone else was still stuck on the ship?
Yeah, apparently.
Wait, how did we get here? Oh, right, sex with the captain. Divers were quick to head to the captain's cabin, where they found Miss Sir Morton's lingerie and other articles of clothing, as well as a makeup bag. The jig was up, but they continued denying it. Sir Morton mostly faded from international attention until she was told to appear before the court to present witness testimony. The judge pressed her to be truthful about their relationship, or she would be held
in court. So you say you didn't have these relations with the captain, but how come we went to the captain's quarters and pulled this out and just holds up the old ocean-covered lingerie? How about this to explain this? It's not mine.
Tell me the truth or shut up.
So finally,
rock
she
out your
admitted it.
window.
Yes, I had a sentimental relationship with the captain.
Stop.
But now, stop asking about my private life.
She was indeed the captain's lover.
Indeed!
What is up, Trouble Alert Nation? Scatino cheated on his wife with C. Mortan. Oh my god!
Oh!
She and Scatino had been having an affair for several weeks. She also said that on the night she boarded, she didn't have a ticket.
Ticket, please.
And didn't need to pay, because nobody questions you when you're the captain's lover. Naturally, she gave another confusing interview after leaving court.
I want to say that today is the second time I die, because the first time I died in the night of the crash with my psychological brain and problems. And today I died the second time because, of course, people find out something that I try to hide.
Subsequent to the trial,
Huh? What? Yeah. Other people actually died. You're just a liar and a gold digger at this point, it looks like, and you really love the attention. But now you have too much attention, and now you don't like it.
she used her fame in Moldova
they
to
found
become
out
a
about
political
me.
activist, often appearing on
She had a
television
stroke
and radio
like
and in
me.
articles covering protests, accompanied by pictures of her being
Yeah, looks like, I mean, obviously English is not her first language, so I think she's kind of struggling to say what she was wanting to say, but also still kind of didn't make sense. I think she's trying to act like a victim in that situation. Like, oh no, they found out more about me. Well, no, I'm just psychologically, I'm just dead, brain dead.
arrested by police.
Oh, she struck the forte! Arrest her! She's fighting too. Oh. What does she have? What's that
It was some
saying
stuff
there?
about victims' violence, women's rights,
Girl power.
yada yada yada. And interestingly, part of a push to block the sale of shares of Moldova's train network to Russia.
Sure.
Other than that, I don't really know what she's been up to. Let me just check on her Oh god, not again.
No! Wait, no! Is that the boat? Another boat name?
Several civil suits were quickly lodged against Cost of Concordia, and their parent company,
Threw a book at
Carnival
me.
Cruises, immediately saw a share drop of 20. Several civil suits were quickly lodged against Cost of Concordia,
Ow!
and their parent company, Carnival Cruises, immediately saw a share drop of 23%.
Oh, is it Carnival? Nothing.
Passengers sought compensation for their damaged mental health, lost belongings, and loved ones.
Wait, only 6 passengers sued and not all the others? Maybe they are like, we're all suing, or all 6 of us are suing for $406 million. No, if I'm like, oh, 6 of you are suing, can I join in, please?
Compensation for their
That's what I would
damaged
do.
mental health, lost belongings, and loved ones.
Either they allowed him to divert from his course, or they didn't know where their billion-dollar ship was.
Within a few days, facing financial and media pressure, the CEO attempted to join the bandwagon against the captain and the crew.
That was not the ordinary route that the ship was taking.
I mean, it's technically not the CEO's fault. They have a route of where to go, how far to go in, and the captain quotations is like, no. So I don't see it being the CEO's fault. I kind of feel bad for him. I mean, he's got the money though, just saying. He got the money. So he needs to pay up for it.
And was not
because he does own it. So it's his property. So he needs to take responsibility for what his, I don't know, underling did. Underling? One of his captains under him did. Yeah, it's still his company. He definitely still owes. But, like, technicality and the decision of where the ship was going, not this guy's fault. Yeah, his employee, the captain of his choosing that he probably should not have chosen.
only taking by the time the ship was...
Junior!
Claiming that the ship was not approved to deviate from the route.
Yeah,
but that
go.
wasn't
Not
true.
approved.
Approval isn't required if the ship is deviating
Sure, he did hire a security guard as a captain. I mean, why would you do that in the first place?
by less than 15 miles.
That's why he
or
needs
that it
to
was
own up to
against
it.
company rules. Also untrue, because investigators found that they didn't have any rules about deviating route, and they tacitly encouraged sail by salutes. Now, in response to the
there you go,
civil
never
suits,
mind.
Cost of Concordia offered passengers 11,000 euros each as compensation.
You have to have rules for everything. Even though it's common sense, you got to have a rule to cover yourself. Well, we have a rule not to, like, reroute or anything. You need to have that written down because someone's going to do it and say, oh, it wasn't against the rules. Now it's your fault.
That's kind of
Hi,
small.
abrasive.
11,000 euros, about $14,000, is the minimum compensation under international law when a ship is abandoned.
This was to reimburse them for their tickets, as well as any costs they accrued in having to unexpectedly travel home early.
And that.
What about the like the PTSD, the trauma? I kind of want some money for that. You ruined not just my vacation, you ruined my mentality.
That was supposed to release them from everything and anything that has to do with this accident. I cannot ask for more than this.
A lot of passengers, understandably, were not too happy with this deal, and they refused to take the money.
We think the offer is an insult. For what these poor passengers went through, we think that the compensation being offered is not commensurate.
There you go.
Take it. Compensation being offered is not commensurate.
Later, Cost of Concordia would lodge a plea deal with the Tuscany court to pay a €1 million fine to avoid a criminal trial. The judge agrees. Cost of Concordia is now off the hook for all criminal liability for the whole thing. They've washed their hands of the incident and flexed the residual droplets of responsibility onto the faces of 6 staff members. Passengers and relatives of the dead are livid that the company has been able to avoid criminal responsibility.
Offered is not commensurate.
Civil suits against the company continue.
That's so dumb. People lost their freaking lives over some stupidity.
By the way, the residents of the island of Giglio also banded together and sought damages. They didn't get much. Eventually, passengers who refused the initial compensation of 11,000 joined civil parties against Scatino in his trial in 2015.
Is not commensurate.
They were awarded 30,000 euros each. Other cases, especially those involving lost relatives, are settled for undisclosed amounts.
Undisclosed. I kind of want to know how much that was. No! Explosion! Oh my
New York
gosh!
attorney Peter Renee traveled to Budapest.
What is this? Like, someone could actually just make a movie off of this. There's so much other than just the wreckage. What's happening?
Yes, to represent
Why
6
does it get
real
worse?
survivors of the disaster.
Who is this?
At Renee and Renee, we personally work on every case.
And we'll work harder than anyone to get you the most money possible in the shortest amount of time.
They're very
And
energetic.
while on the job, a 7th case cropped up via email. An elderly woman, Alona, said,
Help me, Mr. Ronai, for I have lost my daughter, Eva, and my 5-year-old granddaughter, Roxana.
So Mr. Renai agreed to speak.
I'm sorry, the way this guy does his videos,
Eva,
just the
my
little things.
5-year-old.
He used the same lady and just made her tinier and put a bow. This is the same. Oh, just the the little details sometimes, you know?
Granddaughter Roxana.
So Mr. Renai agreed to speak with her. However, there were some inconsistencies in her story. Neither Eva nor Roxana were on the passenger list.
Ooh.
Odd. But Costa is known for having
I see what they're doing. They're using this trying to get money. Oh,
stowaways.
that's bullshit.
Still, Mr. Renai was suspicious. They wouldn't cheaty old Petey, would they? Renai inquired further about why she was on board, especially without a ticket. Ilona said,
Well, I don't know, but you should ask her boyfriend.
Zolt Horvath.
He'll know all the details.
I'm up all night. I'm going crazy, he said. But Mr. Renai was still suspicious. Because then she asked, how much money do you think this is worth? This is a huge red flag, Petey. In 20 years of doing this, you've never had anyone ask about money. Why now? So Mr. Renai hired an investigator and sent photos around of the missing girl. The next day, the phone rang. Oh, hoi hoi.
Hi,
It was the
missing girl.
boyfriend again. Look, there's been a bit of a misunderstanding and the child isn't missing at all. And then he claimed he was confused because he had done too many drugs the night before.
Oh, okay.
Oh. Okay, can I speak to the daughter
Better.
then? At first, he was refused. So Renai said that he'd have to file a missing persons report to the police if he couldn't. The boyfriend relented. That night, Renai met with Zolt and brought the police with him. He speaks to the granddaughter and asks her if she's seen Mum. Yeah, I saw her today. Oh, really? Yeah, we went to the park today and we went on the swings. Oh no, the jig was up.
We went to the swing.
So the mum walks into the room sheepishly. It's a miracle. And the story changed again. Okay, I'm not dead, but I did injure me leg when I jumped from the ship. And then I immediately flew back to Budapest. Although don't worry about checking my leg because there are no visible marks or injuries. Old Petey, I'm beginning to think they weren't even on the boat.
She resurrected!
Also, it turns out this lady isn't her mum, it's just a neighbor. Eventually, Renee managed to make the
neighbor was
bear
in on
confess. And then they said, hey, we haven't done anything wrong. We haven't taken any money. And in the end, it looks like there'll be no criminal punishment for the scam because Hungary, a former communist country, has no laws against insurance fraud on the books.
You gotta have it in the rule book! They can't do anything.
Oh, that's a bad idea. That's a very bad idea.
Yeah, that was a bad idea, Mr. Shipman going down the escalator. Vada aborto.
Mario, would you teach me some Italian?
Oh, of course.
Italian.
Get back on board for fuck's sake.
Okay, thanks.
We learned Italian today, guys.
The naval officer who shouted at Scatino to Vada a bordo caso became a bit of a national hero overnight in Italy. He, like the rest of the world, expected Scatino to go down with the ship.
No.
And when the captain chickened out, DeFalco was there to admonish him. And when he stopped answering the radio, he called him on his cell phone to continue putting him on blast.
Stop hanging up on me!
When the captain first reported just a blackout, DeFalco didn't believe the story and immediately began preparing a rescue effort, which likely saved several lives.
Our hero.
His actions were applauded by most Italians who were tired of their public servants being corrupt and avoiding responsibility. Accordingly, shirts sporting Vada.
That man wasn't even on the boat and he went over there to rescue these people. That's pretty much a hero in my eyes right there.
Caso were being printed by the end of the week, others setting it as their phone's ringtone. But then, in September 2014, without warning, DeFalco was transferred to an admin role in the Coast Guard.
Hear what I said? You've been demoted.
DeFalco said that he had been passed up for promotion, that he had also not been told which admin office he was even being transferred to, and that it all effectively cancelled 10 years of his career. DeFalco was tres furioso, and there was public speculation that it was owing to bad blood between himself and Admiral Delano, his former boss. His status among the public overshadowed his superior in many ways. On the other hand, his boss said, no, it's part of a normal career progression for naval officers and that he must show more maturity.
Progression by going backwards? Nah, they did that guy wrong. They got some long nails. They did that guy so wrong. He didn't even have to do that. he didn't even have to go and help people. He'd be like, oh, wow, you suck as a captain. Well, good luck. No, he actually went and actually rescued people, saved their lives. And they're like, oh, no, you're getting demoted. Sorry. Why?
And professionalism to advance his career. Now, it's hard to know what's true
he got
in
stabbed
office
in the back by
politics,
his
so let's
superior.
leave that alone. And anyway, in 2018, DeFalco said Buenos noches, ya later, to the Italian Navy to become a politician. In March that year, he was elected to the Italian Senate.
That's how we lose the good captains, man. We lose them to become politicians.
Serving as a member for Livorno. He still serves there today.
I'm the captain now.
I'm the governor now. He's too goated. He was too good. Here we go, jail time.
The day after the disaster, Scatino was taken into custody by police and underwent questioning. However, it was clear that this would not be a straightforward investigation. So the judge released him under house arrest at his home in Sorrento, a town in Napoli. By July of that year, the house arrest was relaxed and he was allowed within this general area.
What is this tiny man? Where's your tiny man on the vehicle? Is that me?
Yeah, the house arrest was relaxed and he was allowed within this general area. While under house arrest, he wrote a book.
House
with
arrest?
This journalist from Rye magazine.
So this man causes a whole event, gets people killed, and he is under house arrest. He gets to live at home. Who does he know? Trials are still happening. I don't care. It's obvious that he abandoned ship. Put him in jail.
I have no idea what it says. I don't speak Italian.
Or it takes time. I don't care.
He must have some kind of charisma going on, because there's been a lot
trials,
of speculation in the press that he had an affair with her as well.
You can't keep getting away with it.
Let's keep getting the ladies.
Not content with abandoning his ship, this dude is determined to abandon his wife as well. So, Scatino and 5 others are facing criminal charges. Straight away, everyone lodges a plea bargain with the court, and all of those plea bargains are accepted, except for Scatino's. And the condition of everyone's reduced sentences are that they must provide witness testimony against Scatino.
He touched me.
Ciro, Jacob, and Silvia were all given suspended sentences. Roberto and Manrico are able to opt for community service or house arrest. Not a bad deal.
A good deal. A good deal.
And that meant that Scatino was now all on his own.
Oh.
Ciro, the first officer, was the first to give his testimony. On the witness stand, he claimed that Scatino was distracted by his mistress and other guests on the bridge.
Oh my god. Deja vu!
That there was confusion over who was in command. Then it was Jacob's turn. And he said, Lamau XD, because he didn't actually bother with his testimony or his reduced sentence. He just fled the country. It took authorities 12 months to eventually track him down on the outskirts of Jakarta.
Like a whole
and when
year.
they said, oi, we still want that witness testimony,
Hey,
he
you.
just scalped again. And he hasn't been found since.
Why you just run?
After that, Ferrarini gave his
Has to be something going on in the background. Why would he be too scared and run away from the entire country? He fled the country for a year. Got lucky for a year. There was drugs on the ship. Something's going on in the background. Expert hide and seek. He did really good. He did really good. But something's definitely going on. If he's fearing for his life about having a testimony against the captain, something's going on in the background, especially with the drug stuff.
Testimony, then look, we don't have time to relitigate the whole trial.
Totally innocent,
so let's just go straight to the verdict. Guilty!
Guilty!
Scatino was found guilty of multiple manslaughter, causing a shipwreck, abandoning ship, and lying to authorities. He is sentenced to 16 years and 1 month in prison.
Dang.
But wait, there's still the appeals. The appeals trial begins.
What?
And the verdict on the appeal? Surprise! Rejected. So Scatino's lawyers appealed again. And the verdict on the final appeal?
Scatino made multiple attempts to secure a plea deal, but was denied by the prosecution each time. The prosecution called for Scatino to be sentenced to 26 years in prison, calling the incident a Titanic affair.
Oh, okay, I see what you did there.
Scatino was
Titanic
his lawyer
affair.
stated that he was waiting outside of the jail for the ruling, so that if his plea was rejected, he could immediately start serving his sentence. And with that, 5 years and 4 months after the disaster, he was finally in a cell.
I will not be making any comment.
26 years for 35 deaths should have been 35 years at least.
The salvage operation was enormous. It took over 2 years and cost an estimated $1.2 billion. Beginning in early 2012, they first spent 2 months pumping fuel from the ship's tanks. At the same time, they had to pump seawater in so that the balance wasn't affected and the ship didn't slide around. In early 2013, a platform was built under the ship to prevent it from falling further. Sponsons were then attached to the sides of the ship.
They had to build an entire platform for the thing. So that's just more money involved, by the way.
And cables attached to the underwater platform. The sponsons were then dragged underwater and opened up to allow the ocean to fill them. The ship could then roll over properly. By late 2013, the ship was upright once more. The sponsons were then attached to the side of the ship to help keep it balanced. It now rested partially above water and crews could walk around safely. By July 2014, the water was removed from the sponsons and compressed air was pumped in to lift the ship.
That's crazy.
And she was ready to cruise again. This time to a port in Genoa.
This whole thing was made for this boat, this crashed boat. They had to make this to hold it up.
It was a 4-day towing journey to the docks where a 2-year process of dismantling and
the guy tried to
recycling
appeal
would
his
begin.
case twice.
That same weekend of the towing, Scatino was busy. He was the guest of honor at a white party
salvage
on an
works, that's
island
a
in the
lot
Bay
of
of
money.
Naples. He appeared on the front page of a local newspaper, flanked by
Look at
two
this
of
coward.
Italy's most eligible bachelorettes.
The end.
Anyway, so these are the things that I remember from the Cost of Concordia.
Already made?
That
Okay.
sweet maiden of the sea. And as for you, little fella,
He stole the bell!
well, it's time to return you from whence you came.
Like Dutchman. Be free, oh Belle. Be free. Back to the ocean.
6 quick things. 1. NordVPN, good product, check them out. Number
Cool.
2, there's a new video on the second channel. You probably didn't see it because it was temporarily restricted. Now it's not. Enjoy. 3, if you've never seen the second channel before, give it a go. It's a different type of
Second
content,
channel.
but we put a lot of production into it. It's not just offcuts. 4, there are a couple of secret channels as well, but I ain't telling you where they are. 5, no more
Secret channels. Secret channel. There's a follow-up video. How much more is there?